Legs, you were on my show, the Will Cain Show, some months ago now, and I asked you a series of questions. I said, first, can you win a title with Russell Westbrook as the best player in your team? And you said...
I don't remember.
I do.
I don't remember.
You said no, man. And I think it led to an obvious follow-up, which is, will Russell Westbrook ever take a backup role, a number 2 option role? And we both came to the same conclusion on that one as well, which was no, leading us to the obvious follow-up conclusion. Can you win it all with Russell Westbrook on your roster? And we both said we doubt it.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for Westbrook's market out there right now when the Thunder are looking for trade partners?
Yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, I think when you look at what teams are willing to do to try to get him and what that does to the makeup of your team, what that does to your team offensively, what that does to every other guy slotted on that roster, I don't care if you're an all-star or not, the impact of that, I mean, I think you'd have to look long and hard, right, at acquiring him. And I'm one of the last holdovers on Russell Westbrook. He was my favorite player for 2 or 3 years in a row just because of the effort, the consistency with what I knew I was going to get when I watched him for 2.5 hours. I turned the corner a little bit on him this year. I think just his demeanor, his leadership, and the more you watch him, the more you realize that he doesn't have enough trust in guys he plays with. And the harder he tries sometimes, the more it snowballs the other way. So the impact that he has with who you put him with and the pairing, I don't know that there is a great match. And I think that's what you're asking me. I'm not sure that any of these potential deals I'm seeing out there make a ton of sense. Detroit, to me, probably makes the most sense.
Let's play that game. So to me, if your team is already in contention, you don't take the gamble, the risk reward on bringing Russell Westbrook in and doing to your roster what you just described. If your team's not any good, like, say, the New York Knicks, what's the point in bringing
Makes
Westbrook
no sense,
in?
right, correct.
So it's the middle ground. It's
Yeah.
It's where the Raptors were before they went for Kawhi Leonard. And to me, there's 2 teams that check these boxes. One, you just mentioned, the Detroit Pistons.
Yep.
Pairing him up with Blake, Andre Drummond is interesting. It raises their ceiling, I think. The other for me is the Chicago Bulls. They have the assets to make a deal. You put him together with Lauri Markkanen, Wendell Carter Jr., and you might have something that works in Chicago as well.
For me, Detroit is an infinitely better fit than Chicago from this standpoint. You just mentioned a couple of really young players. Is that the type of influential leader that you want to have when you're trying to develop those guys? Like, how frustrating will it be for those guys to play with a point guard who plays the way Russell does offensively? Detroit makes more sense. You're talking about 2 veteran guys. They're talking about guys that they're giving a lot of money to, okay, that you are now tied to. And you are a team that doesn't have a lot of people coming into that building, a brand new building. You now have a guy that's going to put people in the seats. You have 2 other veteran players that at this point, you're an average team in the Eastern Conference. It's absolutely worth rolling the dice if you're the Detroit Pistons. What have you got to lose? If you're Chicago, there are other considerations because the guys you're worried about are really young. They're in their formative years in the NBA. I don't know if that's necessarily a great idea to pair him with them.
Tim Legler here on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Will Cain filling in for Stephen A. Let's move to the Battle of L.A. Take the Clippers roster, take the Lakers roster. Which one do you like better right now?
Probably the Lakers. I think the Lakers ultimately are the team right now. And it's amazing to me like what they're doing now to round out their roster. Like there are pieces that I think they're going to fit well with that team. And it looked like they were left at the altar, right, when they didn't get Kawhi. But they've done a pretty remarkable job, and you knew this was going to happen. You're going to get guys that are going to want to go play there, take a little bit less money, and they're going to want to have an opportunity because LeBron James gives you that chance every night. You're going to have a chance to play deep into the playoffs and be relevant, and then you could turn that into a more lucrative deal down the road. And I think that's how some of these guys view it that ended up with the Lakers. So I think ultimately the versatility at the top of that roster with Anthony Davis and LeBron James, the number of boxes that they check collectively, I'd probably give them a slight edge, but I think it's possible that we see those 2 teams playing in the conference finals and spending 2 weeks in the Staples Center.
Right now, as we look at the league, and I'm a big believer in this, Kawhi Leonard's decision forced a level of competitive balance, maybe even parity on the league. Perhaps a third of the fan bases have a reason to watch this coming season. But are those still your 2 favorites? Are the Clippers and Lakers your favorites going into this year?
I think right now, I'm actually going to do more of this breakdown on SportsCenter tonight, but so I got to dive into the rosters a little bit more. But I think right now, yeah, that's where I'm leaning. Those are the top 2 teams in the Western Conference. And you're talking about, by the way, a loaded Western Conference playoff race. And you said it. I think it's great for the league. Kawhi ended up somewhere else because I think it would have been really a foregone conclusion if he ended up with the Lakers. What's the point of watching the season? Nobody was going to beat that team.
I will tell you, in this Battle of L.A., I'm on the opposite side as you. I like the Clippers. I think it's well-rounded. It's deeper. I think Pat Beverly, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard is going to be an amazing defensive force. I'm sure you think that as well. Everybody can see how that's going to go. And I wonder about the Lakers being able to shoot outside of AD and LeBron. Meaning, I know Danny Green had a really nice season shooting the three, but there are enough guys around those two to spread the floor and shoot that three ball that they're going to need.
I'm okay. Look, it's a great argument. And one thing the Clippers, I think, will be able to do across the board, they have more guys, I think, you put out there that are elite-level defenders. That could be the best defensive team in the NBA. At least a certain 5 of that group might have the highest defensive efficiency rating in the NBA this season, and that's something I'm sure that Doc Rivers is really relishing because he had a great defensive team that he won a championship with in Boston. He's going to be able to replicate a lot of that now.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For highlights and analysis, check out the ESPN app, and for live streaming and premium content, check out ESPN+.